Did you ever play Injustice 1 or 2?
With you, some.
Well, that was probably based on a comic book fighting game. And
Yeah,
that was just like, what if Superman decided not to be a good guy?
Right. Yes, exactly.
And
I think they actually made comics based off of the game.
I just assumed the game came second because I feel like they always do. What's this beer we got here?
Well, let's take a look. I believe it's a Monday Night Brewing Company beer called the Silk Screen. It's an India Pale Ale. Unfortunately, the can really doesn't give much away. It's very mysterious. They've, with their marketing, decided to go with a 3-word description: sessionable, citrusy, and fresh. So that is about as much as I know. And I feel a little scammed because it says Best Buy 12/30/19. So.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, I mean, it's beer. Does beer go bad? Probably not.
Probably not.
Maybe.
Especially not IPA. That's the
Yeah,
whole point
seriously.
of it.
But come on. What do you think of it?
Definitely sessionable. Like some orange in there.
Yeah, it really is citrusy.
Yeah, very much so.
But also, I could probably chug 8 of these.
Easy.
Yeah. It's about 5%.
All right. Well,
Goes down real smooth.
can I... Wait, is it my turn to go first?
You went first on 6, and so this would be my turn to go first.
All right. Well, lay it upon me.
Go. You guys thinking about going something a little bit more lighthearted. So, abortion. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh. You couldn't see his face, but he looked stone cold.
Just kidding. Sex education.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think about my experience with sex ed in school, and I feel like we had sex ed probably several times, which is good.
Yeah,
I don't
it was
know that
always
that's
under
common.
the guise of like health.
Almost all students in the United States receive some form of education in this regard between the 7th grade and the 12th grade. And yeah, it's a pretty controversial subject, but the experience is different. Everybody in each state has different experience. Some states have wildly different expectations just in the different districts in that state because there are no laws that specifically govern what is to be taught from a sexual education standpoint. And the other thing is parents can choose for their kids to opt out of sex education.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In some places. Because they find that it goes against their religious beliefs, and I guess technically religion is protected in this country. There are a lot of studies that have been done. In 1999, Guttmacher Institute found that most U.S. sex education courses in grades 7 through 12 covered things like puberty, HIV, STIs, which I guess we use for STD now. When did we stop using STD?
We switched from disease to infection
Yeah,
at some point.
I guess disease implies that it can't be cured or something, right?
Is that because I know when I was in school it was still D's.
For sure. Me
Yeah.
too. Up until, I still say STD, and I refuse
Yeah.
to change to STI because it doesn't roll off the tongue as well. But anyway,
Yeah.
They also cover abstinence, the implications of teenage pregnancy, and how to resist peer pressure. But you're noticing there's some key things missing.
Yeah. Any kind of
Right?
contraception.
Contraceptions, yeah. None of that goes in there. These are the baseline, what most kids learn. There are other topics, of course. Birth control is a big one that can pop up. Infection prevention, and I'm not talking really STIs, but more like a UTI, right? Urinary tract infection, just typical health concerns. Sexual abuse, factual and ethical information about abortion. It varies widely based off of whatever the people teaching feel is appropriate. In this country, the two types of sexual education are described as either abstinence only or abstinence plus. Abstinence Plus is also known as the comprehensive sex education, or the one that you should get. It covers abstinence as a positive choice, but it also teaches about contraception and the avoidance of STIs. So, a 2002 study found that 58% of secondary school principals describe their sex education curriculum as abstinence plus, which is great. I mean, it's not great for the other 42%.
Right.
But I was honestly surprised to hear the number was higher than half. Now, again, abstinence plus only means they teach abstinence plus something else.
Okay, so it's very broad.
It's a broad umbrella.
Abstinence and also not doing any sex.
Right?
Plus not doing any sex.
Yeah, and they teach about contraceptive and how you can only get them from the devil, and if you use them, you're going straight to hell.
That's right. And they don't work. They've all been perforated. 100% failure rate.
Of the 50 states, they did some research. We're only going to look at 48 of them for some reason. North Dakota and Wyoming didn't make it into this study. I can't give you a good reason for why.
Those aren't even the usual suspects for when you say 48 out of 50.
Yeah, I know. I tried to dig a little deeper into it, but I abandoned it when I quickly realized that the two extra numbers don't really matter much because it all kind of tells the same story. about 21 stressed abstinence-only sexual education. So we're looking at almost half states are abstinence-only. We got another 7 that emphasize that abstinence should be taught. So we're looking at 28 now that are saying abstinence is the way to go. And those 7, though, it wasn't the only option. And this study was done in 2005. I should have mentioned that earlier. Only 11 states require students receive both comprehensive and abstinence education. And then there's 9 of the states, they don't even mention what type of sexual education the student should have. So I'm going to get into a little bit of data here about birth rates. In the U.S., teenage birth rates have been dropping since 91.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Which is good news.
That's
congratulations,
like 30
guys.
30-year trend, yeah.
Yes. Well, but
Uh-oh.
a 2007 report showed a 3% increase from 2005 to 2006, which is interesting, right? 3%, when you think about this is teenage birth rate, 3% is a large increase for 1 year.
Yeah.
Don't know why. But from 1991 up until that point, the percentage of teens reporting that they had ever had sex or were currently sexually active showed declines.
Okay.
Fewer teens were having sex, which was leading to birth rates dropping. However, the United States is still the highest teen birth rate and one of the highest rates of STIs among teens in the industrialized world.
Man.
So even though we've had progress, we're still not good. Public opinion polls conducted recently have found that the vast majority of Americans favor broader sex education programs over those that teach only abstinence, right? So people want more and better education. And let me say who are some of these groups that want more comprehensive sex education. They include the American Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, National Association of School Psychologists, the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Public Health Association, the Society for Adolescent Medicine, and the American College Health Association are just a few of the very well-respected organizations that say, hey, we're not doing a good enough job.
It sounds like a lot of doctors, though.
You know what? It's a lot of highly intelligent, educated people, which is a real problem. Right. Trying to get something done in this country at times. Sexual behavior in teenagers is a given, period.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it. It's a biological imperative. And so you've got to provide information about how the risks can be minimized, what these risks even are, and that if you don't give teens this information, so if you teach abstinence only and are requiring them to fight these urges, you're going to lead to a lot of unwanted pregnancies and STIs. You might even become the country that has the highest teen pregnancy rate in the industrialized world.
Oh, wait, no, we did.
Oh,
damn it.
Shoot. Darn it.
We did that.
But, then you got the other hand, right? You've got people who believe abstinence-only sex education. Proponents of abstinence-only, they maintain that a morality which is based on sex only within the bounds of marriage is healthy and constructive, and that value-free knowledge of the body may lead to immoral, unhealthy, or harmful practices. So you got to fight the urges for moral reason.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see that don't just do what you want is a thing you're going to have to deal with in a lot of aspects.
Right.
How can educating people less be the move?
Yeah, it's saying, hey, you know what? Don't do it, period. Literally one of the strongest urges you can feel as a human being. And you're saying, don't do it. That's it.
Don't do it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
But also, don't masturbate, because that's the devil's thing.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Within the last decade or so, the federal government has encouraged abstinence-only education. So this is the federal government says, hey, you should not be teaching anything other than abstinence in schools. And if you do, we're not going to give you funding for sex education programs.
Oh, man.
There's $1 billion that the federal government spends on this. And if you say, I'm going to teach more than abstinence, you don't get any of the money. But at least 15 states have declined the funding so that they can teach more than just abstinence. Some states were even financially strapped, and they turned down the money just so they could teach, which is great. It's good to hear. And for that reason, I'm actually going to list out every state that I could find.
Yeah.
And they include, and this one's not surprising, California.
Of course.
Colorado, Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Rhode Island, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. So nothing in the Southeast.
Yeah, I did notice that. Virginia's almost.
It's it's close, I guess. I think that's still I don't
know that it's necessarily south of like the Waffle House line.
And then the impact of the rise in this abstinence only education remains a debated question. 2007, a study ordered by the U.S. Congress found that middle school students who took part in abstinence-only sex education programs were just as likely to have sex and use contraceptive in their teenage years as those who did not.
So that's the difference between abstinence only and no education? Or the difference between abstinence only and plus?
No education at all.
Okay, I'm jumping to a conclusion here. But it seems like if you don't tell them anything or you tell them abstinence only, they get their information from the same third party.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably straight out of their sexual organs.
Yeah.
I'm going to change course. I'm going to jump to Africa. Obviously, Africa has had a lot of trouble with the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah.
And so sex education there has really been focused on stemming that. So most governments in the region have established AIDS education programs, the World Health Organization's there, and there are a lot of international NGOs that are working to help increase condom use. Abstinence is also something that they're doing, and other types of contraceptive that are being focused on. So it's actually really pretty positive, but what I find interesting is the programs that were in effect there, they were undercut by something called the Global Gag Rule. Now, this was an initiative put in place by President Ronald Reagan.
Oh, geez.
It was suspended by Clinton and then reinstated by President Bush. And then I believe eventually it was also suspended again by Obama. But basically, the rule required non-governmental organizations to agree as a condition of their receipt of federal funds that such organizations would neither perform nor actively promote abortion as a method of family planning in other nations.
Okay.
The incidences of new HIV transmissions in Uganda decreased dramatically when Clinton supported the comprehensive sex education approach. According to Ugandan AIDS activists, the global gag rule undermined community efforts to reduce HIV prevalence and HIV transmission. Our views from this country had a direct impact on another one. Granted, it was humanitarian aid. I don't know. It's a tough area right there, but
yeah.
So Africa's in a tough spot with AIDS, but at least they're really making up a lot of ground with sexual education. You look at Europe. I mean, in Europe, it's pretty much recommended for children of all ages. There are some countries, especially ones that are predominantly Catholic, where sexual education is lacking. Prague is a good example. Apparently, they really don't even talk about it. But then you go to others like Paris, and they're handing out condoms to 8th graders and 9th graders. Germany started sex education in 1900.
1900?
1900. Is that not ridiculous?
That's before World War I.
And you look at these countries, a lot of them in Europe especially, and their teen pregnancy rates are significantly lower than ours. Significantly. And I agree, I think it's something you mentioned earlier, is that nothing bad happens by sharing true and real information with people, right? I mean, If you want to say you should practice abstinence, great. But also, you can use contraceptive if you're going to do that. You want to go to hell? Knock yourself out. Use some fucking condoms. Just be cool about it, all right? I think it's ridiculous that we will let what we call morality get in the way of reducing the risk to our children.
Right.
Speaking of, I'm going to get into morality a little bit. So there's really two opposing sides. We got sexual liberals who see knowledge on sex as equipping individuals to make informed decisions about their personal sexuality. They're in favor of comprehensive sexual education all throughout schooling, not just in high school. Sexual conservatives, on the other hand, see knowledge on sex as encouraging adolescents to have sex. So you're giving them the tools that makes them think that they're ready to use those tools and have sex.
Sort of an implied okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They believe that sex should be taught inside the family in order for their morals to be included in the conversation. I think it illustrates a point. I think there's a distinct line between morality and factuality.
Right.
Because the facts say that you can prevent sexually transmitted diseases with a high rate of success, and you can prevent pregnancy with a relatively high rate of success through certain methods. And it's not even saying whether or not it's right or wrong. It's just saying these are the facts.
Right.
There's another viewpoint on sex education, though, and it's sexologists. I'm sorry,
what?
I don't know why
Is
I
that a
just
real?
giggled.
Is that a real thing?
But yes, there's several famous sexologists, but also psychiatrists.
Sexiatrists?
God dang it. And psychologists. They hold that what is at stake in sex education is control over the body and liberation from social control. So proponents of this view tend to see the political question as whether society or the individual should teach sexual mores. So sexual education may thus be seen as providing individuals with the knowledge necessary to liberate themselves from socially organized sexual oppression and to make up their own minds.
Yeah.
Sex and relationship experts suggests that open dialogue about physical intimacy and health education can generate more self-esteem, self-confidence, humor, and general health.
Yeah, like you said at the top, most everyone feels it. And it's one of the very few universal things, like being hungry, being tired.
But really it is. But some claim that certain sex education curricula break down pre-existing notions of modesty or encouraging acceptance of what they consider immoral practices, such as homosexuality and premarital sex. Here's the thing. Even if you're having sex after marriage, you can still make use of contraceptives, but that should be your choice. You want to have sex before marriage? Great, do it. You want to do it after? Just wait till you're married? Okay.
As long as you are going into it informed, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
knock yourself out.
Don't get married just to have sex. Worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
But in homosexuality, some people might believe that if they are taught it's not okay, then it won't happen to them. Or if they're taught that it is okay, then they'll feel more comfortable being that way. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a really shitty thing to do. And it's also a really shitty thing to teach people that anything like about your sexuality is immoral. Ridiculous. I can't believe that it's still a problem. But
can I tell you one of my favorite quotes concerning that?
Please do.
I wish I could remember her name so I could attribute this, but she said, I know that homosexuality isn't a choice because I try to choose it every day.
Okay. I totally get that. Absolutely get it. Totally. Yes. So I'm going to go out here with a little bit of evidence. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of studies that have gone on in this realm, so I'm going to be very general. But evidence shows that a combination of comprehensive sex education and access to birth control appears to decrease the rates of unintended pregnancies among teens.
That seems good.
If you start early enough and you let kids know that this is the best thing to do, then when they do start having sex, and they're gonna eventually, most likely, then they might do it right or better.
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with huge, like, aggregate numbers, right? We're dealing with millions. So
millions of kids.
Moving a couple of percentage points might sound like a small number of percentage points, but that's thousands of lives.
Huge. Meta-analysis that compared comprehensive sex education programs with abstinence-only programs found the abstinence-only programs did not reduce the likelihood of pregnancy, but rather may have increased it. Well, I mean, and that's not so hard to believe, right?
No, it's not hard to believe at all.
It's saying, hey, we're not going to teach you about the ways to not get pregnant, except for the one where you don't have sex.
Right.
So don't do it.
Well, if she's on top, she can't get pregnant. That's gravity.
The percentage of sex education that people receive in this country from what you just said, like people telling them random ass shit, it's like 50%. Can't get pregnant in the pool.
Right. There's a bunch of chlorine and junk in there. There's no way.
Or you can get pregnant from a toilet seat.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? It's like all this crazy ass stuff that people believe. Numerous studies show that curricula providing accurate information about condoms and contraception can lead to reductions in the risky behaviors reported by young people, as well as reductions in unintended pregnancies and STIs. Programs that teach only abstinence have not been shown to be effective.
That's an interesting thing to think about, where it gives you another metric to sort of gauge whether this potential partner is a good one for you. Sort of like, well, you and I both know that this particular prophylactic has a chance of preventing an infection or pregnancy. And if the other person's like, nah, then you can be like, okay.
Deuces.
Okay.
I'm out.
That is an indicator.
Yeah, it's risky. It's a risky behavior.
Even with the information, they have chosen the more risky behavior. Then they're like, okay, well.
That's right. And this is even more interesting to me. A newer study, probably 8 years ago.
Right.
Maybe 10 now. God, I forget it's 2020.
The grinding wheels of science.
Found that gender-focused, or rather curricula that integrate gender equality, treating each other as equals in the learning material for sex education, are substantially more effective in reducing risky behaviors than programs that do not consider this information. People that are being taught this have sex later. Yeah. That's not a bad thing, I don't think.
Yeah, we don't die at 30 anymore.
Right. And also people are treating each other with more respect, and it's helping a lot from a sexual assault perspective. Less likely to engage in violent relationships, lower rates of STD. God dang it, I did it again.
I've heard about
STIs. And it also reduces the chance of unintended pregnancies. And can you imagine that in our public school system in this country, we are not teaching gender equality as part of sexual education?
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about it, which is probably part of the problem.
Right. It is. And I never learned it for sure in school.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And then finally, I'm going to leave my topic with one thought, and that is the people that are making these rules and the people that are setting up the education requirements are older individuals. Not necessarily all gray-haired fools and men, though I'm sure a lot of them are doing it. But very few people are talking to actual youth to understand what would be the most beneficial education. But adolescents have suggested that sex education should be more positive. So less emphasis on anatomy and scare tactics, i.e. don't have sex or you're going to get an STD and die, or maybe go to hell, depending. But really focus on negotiation skills, proper communication styles in sexual relationships. The details of sexual health clinics should be advertised. I mean, getting an understanding for what services are available, what to do if you get into trouble, how to get an abortion if you've got to. And it's amazing. I mean, unfortunately, I watch the news. And the rights for women's health are going the opposite direction that they used to be.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're sliding in the wrong direction.
I mean, we have politicians in the House or the Senate petitioning the Supreme Court to retake up Roe versus Wade.
Which I didn't know we could do that.
I mean, essentially, they can overturn it by ruling on another case that pops up.
Right. I
Which
thought they
they've
had
got
to do that.
one. They've got one lined up.
Ah, damn it.
I mean, they've got probably 10 lined up, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to save that for my very humorous episode on abortion. Coming to you guys soon.
That's right.
Obviously, I am a big proponent of information. And you have to allow people to make their own decisions, for better or worse, but you need to give them the information to make it right.
Yeah. I mean, we make so many decisions with imperfect information every day. Like, which of these checkout lines is going to go the fastest? How am I going to get to work in an expedient manner?
No, I never get those right.
This is one of the few times you can actually have complete information.
Right, exactly. And what is it? Oh, my God. It's the absence of evidence.
Yeah. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Right. A lot of people do fail at saying, hey, I'm not going to have sex with this person, and they do it.
Right.
I mean, it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to many others. You're just like, damn it. Oh, shoot. Shucks. The body takes over sometimes.
Hamburgers.
Hamburgers, right? But in that scenario, you want to be like, oh, shit, well, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to use a condom.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you just prevented yourself, your potentially future kids from getting HIV,
right,
some disease, getting a girl pregnant.
Or infection.
I just read an article about a teenager, who killed his girlfriend because she got pregnant and they waited too long to get the abortion, and so they no longer could legally get it, and so he killed her.
Wow.
Look at all those problems rolled up into one story. 2 counts of murder?
2 counts of murder. Yeah, that's life. And depending on the state, he's either going to be in jail forever or executed. I am curious about the type of education that this child received, both of them. Unfortunately, if we don't start teaching kids this stuff, then we're not going to make any progress. Okay, I'm done. Well, can I get you another beverage?
Yeah, let's do a little refresher.
All right, we'll be right back. All right.
I've definitely had the sex.
Yep, definitely
done it.
Doing sex.
Yeah, it was so good when I did it with a lady.
Man, I haven't listened to I Just Had Sex by The Lonely Island in probably 5 years. Because when Popstar came out, it was just Popstar all the time. I will say I've heard Jizz in My Pants several times already.
Recently?
Recently, yeah.
Yeah, that's one I have also heard recently.
Yeah.
No comment.
Okay, well, the topic that I have for you, for your consideration, it is, in fact...
sultry. I get it. Very difficult.
It
Lock
is
eyes from across
the room. It is specifically the Fool in Tarot.
The card?
The card, the Fool from Tarot.
Wow, I gotta hear how you even selected this topic.
I'm so glad you asked. Speaking of 2016, which is now 4 years ago.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
That's time travel music for you guys listening. Okay, sorry. We're here.
We're here in 2016.
I'm so much younger and more attractive.
Yeah, and I know less about sex now. There's a game series, very prominent in Japan and becoming prominent everywhere else, is Persona. Persona's been a series for a long time, but Persona 3, 4, and 5 have been gaining. And so Persona 5 came out in 2016. And I played a lot of it, and they talk about tarot in it. And the main character in every Persona game is considered the Fool, gets the Fool tarot card. And
okay.
so like there's game mechanics centered around you'll forge relationships with people. There's a lot of social stuff inside the game. Like you make friends, you help them with their problems, and that in turn makes you stronger inside the game. But every time you make a connection with somebody, it's a different tarot card. It's like you are the Fool. Another person will be like the Chariot, Death, the Tower, all that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna pretend like I know what the cards are in a tarot deck.
Don't worry, I'm going to get there.
Cool.
I'm not going to describe all, because what's so interesting about tarot is, in my mind, when I think of tarot deck, I think of like divination and magic and Harry Potter and stuff. Perhaps when I don't know what you would immediately thought of if you hear a tarot deck, but like maybe a gypsy in a smoke wagon.
Absolutely,
like
specifically from The Simpsons.
Yeah, like you cross my palms with silver and I will read your fortune.
That sounds right.
But actually, in like mid 15th century Europe, we're talking about like Italy, Germany, France. They were just playing cards. A tarot deck is for playing cards.
What kind of cards?
There are different kinds of games. A tarot deck is not the same as a modern deck of cards. It does have 4 suits. Those 4 suits would be different depending on which country you're talking about. France actually is the ones we're all familiar with: diamonds, spades, hearts, and clubs. But in Germany, just because they wanted to reflect some more rural life, it was like acorns, leaves, hearts, and bells.
What now?
Yeah. Those were the four suits.
Okay.
I think the bells had something to do with falconing.
Okay, now you're getting. I mean, there's just so many questions.
Of course.
Continue.
But so 4 suits. Each suit had 14 cards. There was an extra face card compared to what we have in our 13 cards. There was a knight between the knave or jack and queen.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Why did you heard of it?
I'm not. I wondered that as well.
Dang it. Okay.
I'm not exactly sure why.
Sorry.
So that was like the core of the deck was those 4 suits, 14 cards. Those are the minor arcana. That's just like your standard what you would think about cards. The ones that I think of when I think of a tarot deck, with like death and the hanged man and the sun and all that stuff. That's a 5th suit. It's the trump suit. And so depending on which game you're playing, the trump cards are those fancy ones, the major arcana cards. And there are 21 of those, and they're their own thing. So you have your regular 4 suits, and there are 14 cards. Minor arcana, you're playing your game with those, and then you have the fancy 21 trump suit. It's its own suit.
So you got 56 playing cards. Is that math right? What did you say?
78. So you'd have 78 total because you got the 4.
50? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing the math right, but okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we think of like a 52 card deck.
Right.
There'd be 4 extra on top of that.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
then an entire extra suit on top of that.
56, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Got it.
But then, even within that established deck of cards, the Fool specifically doesn't fit into any of that. It's an extra major arcana card.
So there's only one of them?
Yep, there's only one of them, and it's either sometimes it's played as like number 0 of the major arcana. Sometimes it's number like 22. Sometimes it's its own thing.
22. Oh, of the arcana.
There's only 21 of the yeah.
Blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and so the Fool, the Joker.
Oh, so they are the same thing.
That's sort of what we're
this whole time I've been dying to say the Joker because I was
Yes.
like, I thought it was a Joker card.
It is.
Aha.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's been called a lot of things. In France, it was Le Mat, which is, I believe, the madman.
So not Le Fou.
I don't think so, but they probably know what you're talking about. Italian is like Il Matto, the beggar.
Ooh.
So it's always the Fool is always like a vagabond, beggar, madman. He's always a lot of times portrayed. His picture has like the bindle, the sack on the end of the stick.
Oh, you gotta have the stick and bindle.
Yeah. And, sometimes there's a dog of varying amounts of friendliness, like a friendly dog with your vagabond, or a dog chasing the vagabond.
Oh, I like that one better for some reason.
Oftentimes portrayed near a cliff, which looks very dangerous.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
What's the symbology there?
So the Fool is very much like the Joker because it varies widely depending on which game you're playing. Almost always very valuable. It can let you do basically in a lot of games it lets you break the rules in some way. Like it allows you to not follow suit in some games. It allows you to like play trump cards in other games. There's way too many games because what I found most surprising when I was digging into this is they're just playing cards. Apparently in Europe, if you think of tarot cards, you think of playing their game of playing cards first and divination cards second. Whereas when I think of tarot cards, I think of divination cards, and that's all.
So wait, PTB, that's short for pump the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me that today in Europe they think about it the same way?
I think so. I haven't been there and talked to anybody about tarot, but we've been playing tarot card games since the mid 15th century.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's talk a little bit about divination, because that's why.
That's why we all bought the ticket, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the Fool often represents the protagonist or you. So if you're if you're getting your fortune read and it's like Fool something. Now let me just go ahead and also pump the brakes and also back up a sec, or BUAS. Back up a sec.
I like it. Perfect. Perfect.
Divination is not a science.
I don't know.
I mean, unless you studied at Hogwarts, where, of course, why don't they teach math at Hogwarts?
You know what? Because it's garbage. That is garbage, science, math, whatever it is.
Yes, math, the magic. So unless you're taking it from like Professor Trelawney, divination is not a science. You gotta interpret a lot. But the Fool represents the protagonist of a story in general. And if you're learning how to read tarot, you'll just do the major arcana in order. So you'd start with the Fool, number 0, and just like go through each card and sort of get a sense of what the journey of the Fool is. And then the last card, number 21, is the World.
Can I interject for a moment?
Yeah, of course.
You said this earlier, and I've just been sitting on it for a minute here. You mentioned that the Fool was the protagonist and also yourself. But what happens, as is my case, where you are really the antagonist of your own story?
Then you have found yourself in a sort of Kratosian anti-hero role where you're still the protagonist.
It's like that joke where it's like, a genie would grant you a wish, but whatever you wish for, your greatest enemy would get half of it. And you're like, well, that's perfect because that person is me.
Yeah, I would wish for $1 billion, and then I would get $1 billion.
Sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. I couldn't help but interject.
Well, the Fool it's a person. It's kind of like youth. It's inexperience, but it's also the person getting their fortune read. I guess the problem I'm having a hard time getting my hands around is it's mysticism.
Of course. Honestly, that description you just gave about the youth, and that was it. You nailed it for me. That was when you hooked. If someone described it that way to me, I'd be like, go on.
I should be taking notes. So I can open I just need to invest in a wagon.
You got me. That is me. You were right. Youthful, you said? I think I know what you're talking about.
Indeed. But yeah, beginning, spontaneity, innocence, the Fool. And if you ever find yourself playing a Persona game the only ones I think that are in English are 3, 4, and 5. But your tarot card is always the Fool, because it's the one that breaks all the rules and is able to change destiny and stuff like that.
Just like a maverick hero needs to be.
Exactly. The card of the maverick hero.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, there you have it. The Fool tarot cards.
Very interesting. Honestly, I don't give much credence to the tarot cards.
The good thing is they don't care if you believe in them any more than you care if they believe in you. Much like unicorns, because they're really real.
Obviously, unicorns are real.
Obviously, unicorns
They're
are
called
real.
rhinoceroses in this world.
Right.
They just got real ugly and real fat. We all been there.
It happens.
It happens.
You let yourself go.
Yeah, that's right. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, your genetics, they get messed up. You're around one too many bikini atolls, and all of a sudden, you're gray for the rest of your life,
Leathery, gray and leathery.
I get it, man. Honestly, that's very interesting. I never gave much credence to the mystical art of the tarot read.
I guess I should have mentioned also, if you're doing divination, you take all the regular cards out. So you just use the 22 major arcana cards. You don't need any minor arcana in your fortune. Major arcana only.
So, in your learnings here of the mystical arts, what was your impression of the validity of the divination?
One of the things I wanted to do was try it. Not a science, so you probably have to So this is unfortunate that this is a crossover between our two topics. You probably have to find somebody who knows, because there's no institutional knowledge out there.
Yes.
You have to find someone who already knows. Yeah. And then you're at the mercy of whatever they say.
Yes. And, you know, I think that, honestly, that's a major overlap. The two topics, at first I wouldn't necessarily think too much about the overlap, but basically it's just a whole bunch of bullshit information that's being passed on from one person to the next, saying, hey, this is the right answer, but it's bullshit information.
Yeah, I know. You can trust
me. I'd say they're almost exactly the same thing.
Well, mysticism is one of those things you turn to when you don't have a way to find, you know, because we see, oh my gosh, it's going all the way back to Peaky Blinders. There's a scene, one of the main characters, Polly doesn't know if her daughter is alive. And she's been having this dream that a girl wants to talk to her. So she goes to a mystic and is like, well, this is the only option I have to try to find out if my daughter is alive. And then later on it comes out the mystic is a fraud. That it's
shocking.
Right, that apparently there was a scene with a glass moving, and then one of her friends comes and tells her, like, I have to tell you that she is a fraud. One of the other people in the room is an accomplice, and he moves the glass. It wasn't your daughter. The accomplice moves the glass. You can't conclude anything from this experience. And it's the thirst for knowledge is one of those things that we can't, right? If there's something you want to know, you have to find a way to figure out an answer, even if it's freaking playing cards.
Well, so yeah, agreed. That's a great point, because it does say, like, if you're not going to get the information from a genuine source like a school or your parents, they go to their next best place to get it, and that could be friends telling stupid ass information. Let's not forget that pornography is a huge source of information that is god awful,
just bottomless well.
The worst. Let me tell you, never once has a plumber come to my door looking for sex.
Yeah, not me neither.
Pizza delivery people never happened.
There's never even any tension.
God, I worked in customer service. Not one person tried to pay me in sex. Never.
Not a single time.
Not a single time.
Wow.
And it's the same thing with the mystics. You're going to these people. They're calling you a fool to your face, which I guess is fine.
The fool is you. That's kind of on the nose, actually.
So on the nose. It's so on the nose. Right off the bat, you're the fool. And they're laughing inside. They're loving it. And so you're right. You're getting that information anywhere you can. Honestly, I think you would be a great mystic, Nick, because really it comes down to reading people, right? And so if you can look at someone and infer a lot very quickly based off of little information, someone who knows people very well, you could probably be a very good mystic. I think you are well skilled at doing something like that. And then there's the other side of, there's a lot we can't understand in the world and the universe, and who knows how things are connected. I mean, there's got to be some kind of energy that connects all of us, and it wouldn't be insane to say that there was a way to predict things based off that energy. Now, I don't think a mystic can do it. I don't think cards are going to do it, but I can see why people would believe in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not so crazy to think that there's a connection between everything, and there's got to be a way to tap into that, to figure out what it says, what it knows.
Oh, yeah. We love drawing connections. We have to warn ourselves all the time in research that correlation is not causation, right? Because we love to, these two things are definitely related. But then you can start drawing conclusions.
As ice cream consumption increases, so do the cases of polio.
Wait, really?
That's strange.
That's strange.
Therefore, eating ice cream causes polio.
Yeah.
But see, that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
we love drawing conclusions.
Well, that's the human brain. We have a finite existence. We have a finite way of thinking about things. And so from a biological imperative, to keep us alive, we have to draw those conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
We have to say, this caused that to save our lives. I mean, when you think about it on a primitive scale, that's the reason why when we eat something and then we get sick, we have an aversion to eating that same thing again, regardless of whether or not it actually caused the sickness.
Right. And a lot of times we're wrong. A lot of times it was the meal before.
Yeah, it could have been the meal before. It could have been literally something completely random, a bug.
Right.
But our body's like, nope.
No more pancakes.
Eggs, fuck them.
Yep, never again. We've learned this lesson, and never again shall we ingest an egg.
Exactly. But you know what? We can take that at a personal body level, but not at a societal level. At a personal level, we say, hey, we ate an egg, we got sick. Probably shouldn't do that again.
Right.
But at a societal level, we're like, hey, if we teach abstinence only, people are still getting pregnant at the same rate. Let's keep doing it, though.
And the tarot card, the Tower.
That's right. I thought maybe Death or the Fool.
Right.
Sorry. Give me. I don't know if you caught my LeFou joke, my Beauty and the Beast reference earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I have not seen Beauty and the Beast in a long time. I've seen it. I've seen the cartoon. I haven't seen the new one? Not the one with Hermione Granger, no.
Slightly better than the cartoon.
Gaston was an asshole. He definitely didn't have any sex education.
Yeah, but who's better?
Quality.
LeFou.
So is he his little? Which one's LeFou?
He is Gaston's
little henchman guy.
Little friend.
Oh, I didn't know he had a name.
Yeah, it's LeFou. What?
Oh. Huh. Just learning all kinds of stuff today.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
So the guy who's singing like no one fights like Gaston.
Yes.
That's LeFou. Oh, okay.
Yeah, which sounds like the Fool.
Huh.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. That's why I said that all those many minutes ago. I guess not everybody is watching Disney movies nonstop.
Sailed over my head.
All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, you know what we didn't do? I will give a shout out to our Twitter account.
Yes.
Which I'm pretty sure at this point of recording, nobody knows about still because we haven't posted the episode where I talked about the first time.
That's right.
I believe it's at Nick or Jeff.
Yes.
On Twitter. You know, I'm very active on that. Lots of nuggets of wisdom out there. Totally, you should have been reading it this whole time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the good thing about the internet is nothing is ever erased, so you can go back and catch up.
We have an email address, too. It is Learning Stuff with Nick and Jeff abbreviated. So, LSWNAJ@gmail.com.
Yep.
Louis Naj.
as everyone says.
Yeah. At gmail.com.
As everyone will soon say.
Yes.
Once we publish this one.
All right.
Everyone have a go. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.